Hey, cats, what's good? So today we're going to talk about the new bedridden's gaffe session, followed by he followed it up with some serious divisive rhetoric as usual. We'll compare it to some of his previous stances, basically where he stands versus where he stood. All right, but you know the deal. You want to hear it? Here it goes.
With two words: made in America. Made in America.
Well, let me run it down to you, communist, homosexual, faggot, dipshit, motherfucker. Fuck you! That's why. 'Cause fuck you! That's why. 'Cause helmets suck! That's why. And commies like you swallow.
Good intro, right? So basically, I'm sure many of you know, probably you've seen, heard yourself. Bedridden's put on a new show yesterday. Like I said, it opened immediately with a gaffe and then followed it with divisive rhetoric, outright falsehoods, and, just all around Biden's bullshit. Oh, slow Joe. But before we check these clips out, I got to put this out for the YouTube lizard overlords. This is a clip comparison, and no way, shape, or form being represented or misrepresented as one speech or as even taking place on the same day. Some of these clips are 30 years old, so don't censor my shit. But I'll let you see some of the clips from yesterday, and then we'll go from there. All right, check this out.
Thank you very much. Let me start off with two words: made in America. Made in America. And that's not hyperbole. I'm not joking about that, as you know. And I want to say up front, and the management here understands, and I'm proud of them, I'm a union guy. And I tell you what, I made it real clear to everybody, whether speaking to the National Chamber of Commerce or the Business Roundtable, the reason I'm the most pro-union president in American history is because you're the single best workers in the world. Not a joke. And folks, here's the bottom line. If Republicans take control of the Congress, these historic victories we just won for the American people are going to be taken away. Every kitchen table cost is going to go up, not down. And I realize costs are going up on food, and I was able to bring gasoline down well over $1.60, but it's inching up because of what the Russians and the Saudis just did. I'm not finished with that yet. The cost of your prescription drugs and healthcare, energy, they'll all go up. Your protection of pre-existing conditions are taken away. Your Social Security and Medicare are going to be in the chopping block.
All right, so we'll start off, all right, obvious gaffe, right, but made in America. This guy knows nothing about that, man. He's basically sold out your labor and your tax dollars for his entire career. Whether it was through selling your children to, the private prison institutions through his 93 crime bill, which, we'll show a clip of that too. Or it's just, supporting NAFTA out here pushing it with, the Clinton gang to sell off American manufacturing to Mexico and China, basically. And the reason that he said he's the most pro-union president is because the mass majority of union bosses, people in charge of those entities, are left-leaning political hacks. Okay, they take these people's dues to fund political machines. All right, they're not even necessarily about the person. I know there's a lot of people that will argue with me over this. I'm going to keep my opinion on the union situation completely out. This is strictly with the content we're dealing with. All right. Then to say that he's a union guy, The dude is the furthest thing from anyone's guy. I mean, he's never had a real job. All he's ever done is leech off of your tax dollars his entire 50-plus year career. All right, so before we get too deep into this, I'll give you another clip here. This is your real Joe Biden's, okay? This is Joe Biden's selling you out. All right, smell this.
My problem is I voted for NAFTA. I'm supporting NAFTA because I think it is a positive thing to do. And I do not pretend to be an expert on international trade matters.
When you ran for president and when Barack Obama ran for president, you both said you would renegotiate NAFTA. You didn't.
Trade agreements like NAFTA and permanent normal trade relations with China, which forced American workers to compete against people who are making pennies an hour, has resulted in the loss of 160,000 jobs.
The president is absolutely right when he says that China has been cheating for 25 years and that Bill Clinton didn't do enough about it, George W. Bush didn't do enough about it, Barack Obama didn't do enough about it.
How exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have?
The rising China is an incredibly positive development for not only China, but the United States and the rest of the world. Rising China is a positive development. It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper. We want to see China rise. China is a great nation, and we should hope for the continued expansion.
China is not our enemy.
We talk about China as our competitor. We should be helping. The idea that China is going to eat our lunch is bizarre. The idea that they are our competition, they're going to beat us, is bizarre. China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They're not bad folks. China's not a problem.
Allowing China into the World Trade Organization, which you supported, extending most favored nation status to China, which you supported, those steps allowed China to take advantage of the United States by using our own open trade deals against us.
No.
Do you think in retrospect that you were naive about China?
No.
Crime bill, when it passes, the Biden-Hatch crime bill, as it becomes law, God willing, I hope that we will have ended once and for all this notion that is a hangover from the 60s, that somehow Democrats are weak on crime and Democratic presidents are weak on crime and Republicans are tough on crime. The truth is, every major crime bill since 1976 that's come out of this Congress, every minor crime bill has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill, and has had a majority vote of the Democratic members of the United States Senate on the bill. So one of the things I want to do in addition to ending crime is end the political carnage that goes on when we talk about crime. Crime is not Democrat or Republican. Making the streets safe is not a Democratic or Republican issue. This is one of those issues I hope this passage of this bill will be taken out of the gridlock category and moved into an emerging consensus. And the consensus is as follows, and I will cease when I finish this statement. The consensus is, A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Right? That's the real Bidens right there for you. Right? Old dried up racist husk that has done nothing but sell off your children to war and prisons and America to foreign nations and continues to do so as he drains America's oil reserves and coffers. Right? Right, and then he goes on to state, that if Republicans take over, it's the end of the world. Basically, they're going to undo all these gains. What gains exactly? Raising inflation, gas prices at historic highs, obvious interest rates, being risen nonstop to try to offset this dude's spending, and he keeps claiming that he's lowering the deficit, right? I mean, how can you lower the deficit when you've spent $10 trillion in 2 years? And you've basically straddled the country with extra hundreds of billions of dollars of spending for literally years to come. I mean, long after, your carcass is in the earth, we'll still be paying for this senile old lizard's bullshit, right? So here's going to be a little clip here for you with a list of the Biden spending over the last little while. That's going to let you know that these gains are actually major losses. Check this out. I mean, right? Lowering the deficit. I mean, it's complete clown world, man. And I laugh, and it is hilarious to an extent. But it's also sad to watch this old man decay in front of you. Okay, and it's also sad to watch and feel the damage being done to our country. You know what I mean? And the only thing he can do is ready everyone for the coming repercussions that you've yet to feel. And that's why he's saying, so if Republicans take over, which, I mean, everybody's basically saying it's almost a certainty, right? Even, some CNN sites now, different left-leaning rags and reporters, on and on. It's getting to that point where they can't hide it anymore, right? But he's basically readying you for the pinch you're going to feel of this dude's reckless-ass spending, man. Because it's only going to get worse. I mean, every major economist that's taken seriously anyway, I'm not talking a fucking Krugman here, right, says it's going to get a hell of a lot worse before it gets better, okay? And a vast majority of it is due directly to this admin's spending habits, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, the previous one holds some blame too, okay? I'm not Sticks in here. I don't think, the Trump inflation was over in 2 months or anything retarded, man. All right. But, and then, again, it's divisive rhetoric. While he pushes us closer to the precipice of nuclear war with Russia, he's also nudging us closer to the precipice of civil war amongst ourselves, our brothers, sisters, on and on, right? I mean, if anyone takes this dude seriously at this point, you need to seek help. Like, before I was making jokes like I got, property in the parking lot to sell you, yada, yada. But in reality, man, you need to seek some kind of help because you're completely delusional and have some type of dysphoria. Really. And, and again, I put on the train, like, what gains? What gains? Is it a gain that, you got basic people that haven't, didn't have the opportunity to go to college, I had to choose to work instead to help family, yada, yada, pay for the people that did go to college, that chose shitty avenues, majors, that were just, complete trash, 1960s lesbian dance theory, whatever the case is. And now what? We're supposed to be strapped with the debt of that? I mean, it's, what gains are we making? You hire in our taxes during inflationary times? So, I mean, it's less and less you have to go on, right? And then what gains, right? It's Russia and, OPEC's fault that the oil prices are going up again. No, it's your fault for once again bringing us to a point to where we're reliant on foreign countries to supply our energy when we're more than capable of doing so ourselves, right? And, I don't want to hear this, oh, well, they have all these leased lands already. You got to have leases not just for the land, but to drill. And just because you have a lease for a land doesn't mean there's minerals, right? And when you suspend any more, permits and licenses, for years to come, basically, what do you expect to happen? You drain the national oil reserves, which are for times of emergency. And I'm sorry, but this dude blowing shit and people's stimulus checks is not a fucking emergency, right? I mean, in reality, the spending should have been cut off and the interest rate should be about 22 to 23% to offset this shit, to right the ship. But that's the last thing they want to do. Instead, they'd rather tax you and spend more. And they act like they have a revenue issue when easily to look up the stats of tax revenue in this country. It's at record rates, right? Spending is the problem, okay? And these dudes are just kicking the cash out for whatever stupid ass reason they could possibly think of. And the Ukrainians, it seems every other day it's a new Ukraine bill. Here's $1 billion, here's several billion, here's hundreds of millions. It's getting absolutely ridiculous, man. All right? And these are the gains that he says that he's given us. I mean, what's the newest one? The desperation ploy with, we'll waive like federal, marijuana charges. I mean, it's expunging a record. It's not freeing people, and it's helping the smallest percentage of nonviolent offenders in prison. I mean, it's, 100 people are going to be affected by this or something. The vast majority of lower marijuana charges are handed out by municipalities and states, not the federal government. And usually, if it is the federal government, it was a plea down from some other shit. It's, the federal government doesn't cruise around and charge people for minor marijuana, possession or even sales for that matter. I mean, for the most part, sure, you got your idiots that like to include mailboxes and, gram weed sales, but that's, the very minuscule minority. It's been an absolute fucking bullshit ride with this guy, and the bullshit continues. Don't let this fucking charade fucking fool you. The charade. Okay, because it's all it is. It's political theater, man. Again, this dude is readying you for the repercussions of his actions, right? And of course, everything is everybody else's fault. We got to divide you. We have to make sure that you're arguing with your family and neighbors. And, hey, vote for us, man. But tell me what you think. Tell me I'm bullshitting. Argue with me, debate me, whatever. Tell me to fuck off, all right? Come back, like, share, subscribe. Smell you later.
I was going to put him...
Idiots.